Just some further thoughts on what is reality and what is illusion. I've been getting quite a lot of analytic thinking through the recent weeks. Obviously being away from the internet and away from the computer, so I'm compiling a list of vocal recordings, and I've been thinking about reality and illusion, and I've mentioned it in one of my previous posts and also vocal recordings, is that the illusion is basically this whole thing with the money, the material. That's the illusion, the almost like box of a world that we've created. Well, reality doesn't fit into a box, and truth is stranger than fiction. Now, when things happen to people, for example, a near-death experience or a strange occurrence in their life, something that they can't explain, it stands out, and they think of it as being strange. The reality is that life itself, is strange, but more to the point, this existence that we have is a miracle. Human life is a miracle, and everything that we do, if you look at quantum physics, quantum mechanics, if you look at how we actually breathe, the biology of our body, how that works with the dimensions, the forces of gravity, literally living life is a great, amazing thing, but it's been sold that it's just normal and average. And even Messiah figures like Jesus and Buddha and others, they're basically, history has been written by criminals, and the impression people get is them types of figures were something else, and they basically said humanity, there's the kingdom of heaven is within, God is within. And also, as well as that, I've been thinking of God and deciphering what God actually is. Death itself is obviously just a transformation, whether you're going into another life on a different plane, in a different area, on a different planet. Death itself is almost like you need to figure out first what you are here to do in this life, what things you need to correct about yourself, what lessons you've learned. A lot of that comes through being honest, truthful, speaking to yourself, realising that there is a higher self and actually contacting it. And once you discover yourself and you're a good person, the true knowledge will only come to people who are pure or good at heart and good at soul. And this is very similar to karma. The information field in the universe works the same way as karma, whether it's nanoparticles or whatever it is. It works in a way that once you actually become truthful and a good human being, everything will come to you from there. And money is an illusion, time is an illusion, because everybody's sitting there and watching their clock. One of the other things I've been thinking about is ghosts and spiritual entities, spiritual energy, and how if human form has been around for half a millennia, or human beings have actually existed for 500,000 years, potentially more, maybe even into the millions, I don't know. It's happened over and over again. Humans have died, and then there's been a mass extinction, and then somehow we've come back. We haven't gone through that evolution cycle again, because in my opinion Darwin was not correct. Evolution occurs, but not to that scale. So obviously the beings, the entities or beings or aliens or whatever you want to call them, that come in the night and take DNA, they can obviously use that DNA to start life again, a little bit like in the movie Knowing with Nicolas Cage, when there is a race that actually take children from one planet and obviously seed life somewhere else. But more to the point, ghosts. There's a lot of places now where people experience, ghost phenomena, and this whole thing is linked because if humanity is divine, which I believe it is, and there was a day when we were once superhumans, and even looking at 2 to 3 generations, you can see that people are not doing things as good as they used to. Those things that used to be quite simple, for example building a house, are now quite complicated, and they take us 10 times longer to do. So there is a mental devolution occurring where this machine is becoming more powerful, and the human psyche, the human mind, and the human consciousness itself is deteriorating. And why are there so many ghosts? Well, obviously there's no such thing as death, so we were meant to not be murdered and killed, because when everybody was loving and we all knew that we were a collective, one being, crimes were non-existent. And this is going perhaps back to the golden age, where you would pass and then you would transcend into another form. And what a lot of people don't actually know is that the human being themselves have a lot of control on where they are going in the next life, and it's a lot to do with your thought. If you think of a particular thing in the final moments of your death, the chances are that's where you will materialize. Now, this is something that's in the Hindu scriptures. It's in the Indian, the Indian scriptures, that if you think of your family, you might stay back with them, guide them, watch over them, and wait for them. And this is what a lot of people do. This is why a lot of people have elders. If you look at the mediums, like Jonathan Edwards, or there's a few, Derek Okora, there's many spiritual mediums. There's one particular guy in the UK that I can't think of right now, but they often will tell you that your family's there, they're watching over you, and as soon as you think of them, they're there, because that energy travels at the speed of thought. Well, that's true, because they've thought of the family. Some people might think of the house or the material, and that's why they stay and actually haunt the house. And even to the silly things like maybe people might desire, tasting something for the last time, so they'll then materialize in an animal form and go back. So it's all to do with your thought. Now, if somebody is actually on a path of truth and they want to discover the universe and want to answer questions or have questions answered, it's very likely that they will then materialize into a form where them questions will start to be answered. For example, if I think of what life is like in a different universe, there might be boundaries to that, but if I think of what life is like in the materialistic universe but on another planet, the chances are I might actually transcend to that dimension or planet. So this is very true, and this is very real. Now, a lot of people listening to this might be new to this idea, might actually think this is a dream, this is an illusion, but this is what you've been sold. Think about it. Think if humanity has been around for thousands of years, it's very possible that 90% of what we do today is backwards. Because if you look at things on a progression, and if you look at things on the opposite of progression, a decline, we have gone down a decline, and 10,000 years ago the decline wouldn't have been as much as it is now, but I can probably say that 10,000 years ago there was still a decline. Maybe if I think of 40,000 years ago, people's thinking was a lot more like it should be now, but completely the opposite of now. I would say most people don't think like that, and even the ones that do become defeated and think, well, maybe it's just me, we're odd, we don't fit in, there's something about this world, we can't change it. There's more of them who are following the illusion than us who know the reality. But our reality has actually become the illusion, and that's what this age and time is all about. And there's chances that the year of 2012 there is significant changes universally. It could be the chance where that is going to reverse and things are going to start changing and going back to the way they used to be, and the forgotten race, or the race, the humanity of today who has forgotten what they are and who they are, might actually start to return. But we've actually got to realise that within ourselves, what we are and who we are, because this is the bigger secret, and this is the thing that money is not the object, because they print the money, and it's not about money. A lot of people think it's about money. It's not. It's a lot more bigger than that. Money is probably 1% of it. It's all about who you are and what you can actually do. And if you truly believe and truly realise, that changes your life for forever. And I would say it's sad that most people go through life and are born through the cycle of reincarnation, and born and die, and they don't even realise that. And one of the other reasons why the disinformation on religion is out there is that in the New World Order plan, whether they've got a one religion, whether they've got an atheist religion planned, and the Illuminati have come out recently and said in one of Benjamin Fulford's videos that we've been waiting 14,000 years to tell humanity that Christianity, Islam and Judaism are all teachings from Lucifer or the Antichrist. Well, there may be some truth in that, but I would probably say that some of that is not correct, because if you think about genetics and DNA, and if you think about a planet where people have devolved, and there is obviously the animal side, which is the physical, and then there is the spiritual side. If there are races out there that help this whole cycle of karma and dharma, then they will obviously be pushing the common man away from relying on five sense or animal instincts to actually become spiritual, so they can actually then transcend and incarnate into a different being to actually experience the universe from a different perspective. So rather than them saying forgiveness, forgive each other or love the neighbour, that's actually very karmic. But for an alien to come down and say this is the reason why and this is how the universe operates, it's going to blow people's minds. The common man 5,000 or 10,000 years ago wouldn't have thought like that, so they had to put it into teachings, doctrines, whether you call them doctrines or whether you call them teachings. They had to put it in a more practical form and say this is what you need to do, without actually explaining why you have to do it that way. It's almost like parenting. When you tell your children that you should do this, you can't tell them the ins and outs of why they should do that, but you know that once they follow that guidance, they will actually one day realise themselves. And it's a deep conversation, and the thoughts that I've been having are quite in depth, but it's all to do with those souls that are out there in the spiritual realm that have died in confusion. A lot of people in the Middle East, a lot of these black darts and things flying about that I often see, and a lot of this pain and suffering is they're trying to create chaos in every single dimension that they physically can. They're creating chaos on the earth, they're creating chaos in people's minds, they're creating chaos in the spiritual world, and their war, their battle is soon coming to an end.